In the center of the magnificent arena, the clamps are showing great power, and the body has just been repaired with transformation gold and vibranium, bursting out with more powerful force. He forcefully threw the opposite shapeshifting King Kong into flight, and immediately raised his arms, bathing in the crazy joy of countless people, roar, with a look of intoxication and enjoyment on his face. There is no doubt that he is the biggest star on this planet, the king of traffic. As long as he appears, he must be the center, touted and worshipped by countless residents. Roar. The tongs roared and defeated the powerful enemy in front of them once again. At this time, a short figure stepped into the arena. His body was tattooed with blood, his skin was gray, and his face was ferocious and fanatical. War god Kratos, this troublesome fellow again. The clamp had a headache, and he quickly scanned the guy in front of him. What made him frightened was that he found that the breath of this guy was even more terrifying, and the energy fluctuations in that body were also beyond the previous. Is it stronger again? How long is this? This speed of improvement is too exaggerated. Clamp. I'll defeat you and become the strongest gladiator. Kratos roared, and powerful divine power fluctuations gushed out of his body, and this divine power was extremely mixed. The divine powers of different systems collided and rubbed each other, and there was a strong roar at all times. When Kratos is rendered, he is always braving the colorful sacred light. The two figures started to run, and crashed into each other amidst the roar of countless people. What's the matter with this guy? Asgard supernatural power, Olympus supernatural power, Mayan supernatural power. He carries so much supernatural power, but he is not dead. Queen Sin's eyes widened. She looked at Kratos in shock, feeling the strange divine power fluctuations on the opponent, and her face was astonished. This guy is the work I am most proud of at the moment. Many Protoss divine powers are blessed to him. Every moment, his strength is growing. Martin said lightly, and at the same time glanced casually at Queen Sin. If you don't surrender in time, I will kill you and transplant all your powers to Kratos. Queen Sin's face was solemn, and she was silent for a while. Kratos, this guy, if one day can't bear the surge of supernatural power, it will explode with a bang. The way you treat your subordinates is really crazy. This is his own choice, and he is more aware of the risks of doing this, but he still does it. In order to gain strong strength, he always races his life against time. Martin's expression is extremely flat. He really doesn't care. Even if Kratos finally fails to support the explosion, Martin can only express regret at most, but he won't say anything, because this is Kratos, his own choice. In the arena, the battle became more and more fierce. At the moment, with the grip of the third-level peak, the at the moment was gradually suppressed, and the feeling of being pressured by Kratos' powerful divine force was heavy. Roar. Kratos let out a beast-like roar, smashed with an axe, and smashed a large piece of broken parts from the powerful body of the clamp. His power surged again. Amidst the roar of explosions, Kratos hit it hard. With a loud bang, the clamp was hit by one head and was deeply embedded in the wall made of adamantium alloy and vibranium, losing its combat effectiveness. The whole arena suddenly fell silent. In the next moment, countless screams sounded, resounding through the sky, suddenly dispelling the murderous atmosphere of the entire planet a little bit. Kratos was sweating profusely, carrying an axe, looking around with a serious face, slamming his chest, and roaring loudly. I, the god of war Kratos, the new king of gladiators. The new king of gladiators is born. Kratos replaced the tongs and became the king of the new Karen arena in full view. His spirit is extremely exciting. It is Martin who can possess such a rapid increase in power in a short period of time. He was even more fortunate that at the moment when Mount Olympus collapsed and the gods were slaughtered, he knelt decisively and chose to take refuge in Martin, and finally he has today. Kratos screamed frantically, grateful for his choice, grateful to the countless residents of Roar who loved him, grateful to the man he was loyal to, the Supreme King Martin. From Kratos, the chaotic supernatural power that soared into the sky was simply the craziest of the disorder of the clan, setting off many terrifying storms and raging waves. I see, this is your purpose. Do you plan to unify the divine power of the world tree? Queen Sin snorted coldly. Not only that, but I will integrate all the divine powers together and uproot the rule of the entire world tree. Martin said lightly. Niederhog at his feet screamed at this moment. So, what you did is similar to me, which is equivalent to bringing Ragnarok to the world tree. Shut up. Just be your mount. Martin kicked down hard, said indifferently, and immediately steered the restless dragon away. Queen Sin stayed in place, looking down at Kratos. Her face was uncertain. In the next second, Optimus Prime, who was standing in the distance, got the news and directly activated Bifrost and forcibly sent Queen Sind away. Vaguely, there were bursts of curses. Everything fell silent, the whole world tree, sporadic wars continued, but in the big picture, all existences began to fall silent, waiting tremblingly for the actions of the new king, Martin. This terrifying storm that broke out in the world tree, at the moment also gradually spreading to the entire universe. This war involving many worlds is also well known to some powerful beings in the universe. A place of nothingness, where the Elder of the Universe Collector is located. Everyone in the Guardians of Galaxy, at the moment, are looking for a mission to make money on this planet constructed with the huge head of the Celestial Group. Huh. What is this all about? Help the Kree kill the Skrull. Look at this task again. Help the Skrull kill the Kree. Is the person posting the task crazy? Let the mercenary follow the regular army goes to war. The Rocket Raccoon kept scratching the screen, in a bad mood, cursing, and finally took the instrument off and slammed it to the ground. Damn it. Isn't there a task that is easy and simple and can make a lot of money? This makes it difficult for them as mercenaries. Confinement said indifferently. I think we can try. Anyway, these two empires are not good things. Killing anyone is not killing. Maybe you can make 2 more money. Rocket Raccoon turned to look at Quill. What do you think? Quill was silent for a while, and said in a low voice, as you go, I'm not in the mood to think about this. What's wrong with you lately? Are you still missing the crazy woman Gamora? Don't think about it, buddy, she is the executioner's daughter than Thanos, and also an executioner. Rocket Raccoon comforted. Confinement looked at Quill and sneered. I think it's not because of Gamora, the two of them don't have much contact, I'm afraid it's because the mind gem is broken, the power to modify Quill's mind and will has dissipated. Quill glanced at the confinement, did not speak, his mood was very bad. Everything is like a dream. Since mind gem was broken, as time passed, his reason and self were returning, and the unreasonable fanatical worship of Martin gradually disappeared at this time. When his self-will was completely restored, everything was like a dream. Now that you are aware of it, what are you going to do? Quill stared at the confinement, his expression complicated. He formed the Guardians of Galaxy with this big guy with bad temperament, and it can be regarded as after a period of extremely heartless days. Although embarrassed, it is indeed enjoyable. But now, confined with his hands on his shoulders, he looked arrogant. What can I do? What can I do? After I noticed your recovery, I cut you with a knife? Quill, it's not that I look down on you, but you think that you are too important. If I or that one wants to kill you, you will never live now. The other members of the Guardians of Galaxy were dumbfounded when they listened to this dull conversation. I'm Groot. Yes, this is also my problem. I don't understand what kind of neurotic things you guys are saying at all. Rocket Raccoon scolded. Drax wiped his dagger, pretending to be deep. Maybe, this is love. They said I don't understand before, but I think I understand. Idiot. What are you talking about? A person, a robot, ha 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 ha. Rocket Raccoon smiled. Drax furiously said, damn little rabbit, do you want to compete with me? Come on. Am I still afraid of you? Drax roared, and the terrifying coercion of level sub-godfather erupted, causing the entire spacecraft to tremble suddenly, followed by another tumultuous leap. The tense atmosphere suddenly relaxed. Quill sat on the seat with a sullen face, clutching his hair in pain. I think I'm like a fool. Confinement comforted. Don't think you are a fool, Quill, this kind of thing can be seen by an individual. Quill's face turned black, his mouth was cursing, and at the same time he drew out a powerful weapon, an elemental gun that could destroy a city, trying to fight Confinement desperately. At this moment, there was a voice from the spacecraft. Gentlemen, I caught a very interesting news that a new king was born on the world tree. Confinement arrogantly said, I've known this for a long time. The information from Cybertron will be directly transmitted to my mind. Dawn, your information collection system is really backward. Damn, you are not allowed to say that to her, Quill scolded. Dawn was originally a self-aware fixed star, but after a major crisis, the fixed star collapsed, and the consciousness was directly uploaded to the spaceship, and finally got acquainted with Quill, and Dawn had another identity, Quill's lovers. Quill can use the consciousness upload device to have a tryst with the Dawn. This is very powerful. My father is planet, and my lover is fixed star, which is worthy of being a star. A group of people constantly shuttled in the universe, with the power of Dawn. Even if they faced a black hole, they could escape in the first place. According to the plan, they originally planned to go to the galaxy to take a hard look at the Kree and Skrulls who have fought for years. With the powerful ability of Dawn, they can make too money as long as they are disguised. But soon, A huge amounts of energy field suddenly appeared, and it instantly locked them. What happened? Everyone felt the tremor of the spacecraft, and their faces were surprised. For such a long time of adventure, are all kinds of death, it depends on the power of dawn to help them escape, but this situation is unexpectedly happening now, which is very abnormal. There is a strong enemy ahead. Shiguang's soft voice was also a little more solemn. Confinement slowly got up and said coldly, I have detected energy fluctuations beyond level sub-godfather. Everyone, we are in big trouble. It is suspected that the existence of a level sub-godfather suddenly attacked the Guardians of Galaxy, and everyone was shocked and a little bit at a loss. Quill, my child, you should be mine by nature. A creepy sound penetrated Dawn's defense system directly, and passed straight into the interior. Confinement suddenly raised his head and his face paused. Ego. This guy is really not dead. Last time Optimus Prime chopped up one of your duplications, you dare to come out this time. It is actually the ancient god of the universe, Ego, horrible planet life. Everyone in the Guardians of Galaxy looked ugly and looked at each other. In the end, Quill looked at Drax. Drax, you are a famous destroyer, isn't it difficult to defeat this old guy? Rocket Raccoon asked in a low voice. Drax's face was gloomy, and he whispered, I'm just level sub-godfather. Even if I go suffer some injuries, I still surpass level sub-godfather. Sorry, I am not an opponent. Drax looked helpless. Since he was created by Thanos' grandfather, Cronus, the god of time, his strength has not increased significantly, and he has never been able to break the upper limit of level sub-godfather and enter that transcendent level. Diaresis Dawn, find a way to escape, don't pester this lunatic. Quill yelled. It's useless, Quill, you can't escape, you are my heir, and you have my blood on you. Huge amounts of the planet lay ahead, and a series of terrifying divine lights emerged. On the surface of the planet, a face was greedily gazing at the tiny spaceship. The essence of my adventure to Cybertron was to save you. Only you can become a new me and a new god. But you doubt me, so would you rather believe Martin than your biological father? Igo kept bewitching. Quill's face was tangled, a little confused. In the end, what should I do? Confinement. Quill turned to look at Confinement. Confinement sneered and said, Want to listen to my advice? Very good, it proves that your brain is not broken. Igo is not credible at all. He is to take your soul and blood to enrich himself. He wants to become a universe god. As far as I know, as long as he can swallow you, his distance from level single universe, good Zhao's, will be greatly shortened. Quill tangled for a moment, suddenly opened his eyes, and said solemnly, Dawn, we escape. I don't believe anyone now. Boom. The huge amounts of energy waves hit and beat the spaceship fiercely. Obviously, Ego had no patience anymore. The spacecraft's energy drive device is damaged. I'm sorry Quill, we may be dying here. Dust came out of Shiguang's frustrated voice. Everyone's face suddenly sank. Only in Confinement, I kept sneer, at the moment even chuckled out. Don't worry, that bastard Ego won't live long, but he has always been on Cybertron's hunting list. There will be someone come and clean him. Roar. A rainbow that suddenly came from a distant place suddenly appeared, after a roar. A figure carrying a great sword stepped out of Bifrost. The tall and straight body stood in the starry sky of the universe, and when the giant sword was taken off, the power directly connected to Bifrost dissipated slowly at the moment. Ego. I only killed you one duplication last time, this time I will kill your body. Optimus Prime waved his huge sword in one hand and spoke indifferently. He moved his gaze and landed on the dawning spacecraft. In an instant, he saw the Confinement that was looking at him, and nodded slightly. Shut up and twitched at the corner of his mouth, as a response. Dawn. Taking advantage of this opportunity, we run away, Confinement said immediately. Rocket Raccoon ran directly on the confined shoulder, grabbing the confined head and exclaiming excitedly. How do you know Optimus Prime will come? Because I called Optimus Prime, he controls Bifrost and can travel to any corner of the universe at any time. Confinement looked arrogant, knocked on his arm, and Ultron's phantom immediately disappeared. Ultron, an auxiliary intelligence system, definitely has one in him, but his character is extremely suspicious, he doesn't trust this ghost, so he never used it until he encountered Igo. The Confinement passed Ultron, and Roar directly called Optimus Prime. Dawn, has the energy drive system been repaired? This is a good opportunity. We must not let it go. We will leave here immediately. Quill took a deep breath, and finally took a deep look at Optimus Prime. Last time, it was this guy who killed Igo. Unfortunately, Quill, the drive system is seriously damaged and it will take more time to repair, Shiguang said. At this time, the moment Igo saw Optimus Prime, after a moment of silence, he finally went mad. With terrible anger, waves of horror swept across the surface of the planet. Damn. It's you despicable robot again. Last time, it was you who destroyed the planet duplication that I worked so hard to make. Igor Rage yelled, and quickly shot out a terrifying wave of energy to bring the Shiguang spaceship over. He made up his mind, as long as he grabs Quill, he can give up everything, he only wants Quill. You are my unfinished Class B incident, let alone duplication, your body will be killed by me. Optimus Prime lifted the great sword and shot a Bifrost. When Ego's power was about to touch the Dawn spacecraft, there was a loud noise, and the Dawn spacecraft had been teleported back to Cybertron by Optimus Prime. Igo Rage. Countless cyclones exploded in rows, turning into terrifying vortexes, mixed with the endless power of the gods, at the moment all blasted towards Optimus Prime. Twice. Damn it, you broke my good deeds twice. Why do you insist on being an enemy of this ancient god of mine? Don't think Martin is invincible, he just got the destiny temporarily. Waiting for millions years later, he will finally abandon this universe, and a new destiny will rise and kill him. Igo snarled frantically, really mad. Why do these bastards always oppose him? He just wanted to take his bloodline Quill back, and then swallow it. Is this too much? Is it too much? Did you touch the interests of other gods? But why? These Cybertronian bastards are always against him. Optimus Prime said indifferently. I can only blame you for being unlucky, and it happened to be in our hands. Moreover, Cybertron has issued a wanted order against you. You are on the list but a B-level existence. Kill you. Very valuable. I don't want you to live either. Your life is a threat to Cybertron. Level B is a level Godfather event. Generally, there is a strong enemy of level Godfather, or an interstellar war has broken out across many fixed star systems. These are all classified as level B. Further up, it is the A-level event. There are powerful universe gods of level single universe, or the scale of the war involves a very far-reaching and important future, which can affect the situation of a universe. For example, the Battle of the Ten Realms is classified as Class A incident. As for the top S-level events, so far, only Martin, the Lord of Cybertron, took 6 infinite gems against Sithorn, which can be called an S-level, multi-level universe terror battle. Ego fell into a state of madness, shot one after another, and the entire planet body slammed directly into Martin. Every time he moved, it caused terrifying ripples in time and space. As it spread slowly, it continued to stack like ocean waves, and he rushed towards the engine. Tianju. Optimus Prime's complexion sank, suddenly raised the huge sword, and then severely cut it down. This World Tree's #1 artifact immediately burst out with extremely powerful power. With a loud noise, there was a huge divine power surge. A burst of terrifying power that smashed the fixed star burst out, and in a sudden, the endless divine power that Ego had hit was smashed into pieces. At the same time, Bifrost came crashing down, and Optimus Prime had already come behind Ego, and immediately slashed it with a sword. Hiss. A scar appeared on the surface of the planet. Optimus Prime's eyes condensed, somewhat surprised. Your strength. I understand. The one I killed at the beginning is not just your duplication. Each of you is both the body and the duplication. The Ego in front of him was not much stronger than he imagined. Or is he stronger? Ego let out a painful roar, resounding through countless galaxies. At the moment, his hatred and fear of Optimus Prime seemed to have risen to the extreme. This guy, holding a top-level artifact, was able to shook his deity head-on, which greatly stimulated him. What made Ego more uneasy was that he clearly noticed that there was a faint connection on Optimus Prime's artifact, leading directly to the direction of the World Tree. Die, Ego, you are a threat to my planet, so we must clear you out as soon as possible. Optimus Prime shook his head and shot again. The giant sword slashed out again and again. In a bang, he tore apart Ego's divine power barrier. He stood directly in the cosmic starry sky and hit Ego's surface with sharp divine power. A terrible earthquake. Ego let out a painful roar. At the moment he fought Optimus Prime, and at the same time retired in his heart. Bastard. This bastard robot. Why can he be side by side with the noble me? Martin is also a bastard. He is an alien in this universe. A heinous virus. Those cosmic gods should be defeated in Sithorn, directly together to kill Martin. You shouldn't let such a dangerous guy alive. They will regret it. Igor was bitter in his heart. Even if he roared and shot, level Godfather's combat power burst out. At the moment, in front of Optimus Prime, who had faintly received the blessing of the World Tree Rule. He was still not an opponent, and the scars on his body expanded again. The core of his life stored in the core of the earth was about to be exposed, and the shadow of death enveloped him. The gods of this universe, those who seem to be so noble, in fact, are more stupid than a god. They will definitely regret it. As a cosmic god, but letting a terrifying monster like Martin grow up, not only Martin is terrifying, but his subordinates are also extremely weird. There must be some secret. Igo let out his final roar. The huge face covering the surface of the planet, at the moment has become distorted, enduring huge amounts of pain and mental torture, and he uttered a hatred towards the higher beings in the universe. Roar. You will regret it. What are you yelling? Optimus Prime looked flat and wielded a huge sword. This time he simply rushed into Yigo's body, maintaining a charging posture, even if Yigo tried his best. The power of the gods rushing from all directions was devastated, but it still kept advancing. Hiss. Yigo's huge body began to crack, and terrifying cracks multiplied, eventually spreading across the world. When Yigo's core was completely blasted through by Optimus Prime, the screams spread throughout the universe. Boom. With a loud noise, the power of countless gods completely spread, destroying a large number of nearby stars, turning them into countless exploding firelights. The body of Optimus Prime was seriously damaged, but at the moment, he was already holding the giant sword and looking down at it indifferently, until everything fell silent, and after confirming that Igo was completely dead, he was relieved. Ego, the ancient god. When he died so humble. Optimus Prime's voice was low, looking at the large scattered rocks, and fell silent. Even if it is a god who has lived for thousands of years, life is so fragile. This universe is really crazy and cruel. He probably understood why Martin became so crazy and strong. Not a god, but ants after all. Optimus Prime stood there staring for a while, shook his head, turned and left. After a long time. There are many illusory figures emerging, and each figure exudes a powerful aura and the power of rule, as if this universe originally came. These figures looked at the wreckage all over the space and remained silent for a long time. Can even the robot he made can kill level Godfather? Although it's just a case, it's already a terrible signal. The speed at which he becomes stronger is too amazing, and we just don't know how he can change. Strong. An illusory figure whispered. It is said that, symbolizing the infinity of infinite space, it has been monitored for a long time, confirming that Martin did not notice any fluctuations in the different universe when he made the shape-shifting diamonds. That is to say, these shape-shifting diamonds will not come from a different universe. Martin really created it himself. Infinity, one of the 5 gods, is the highest spatial entity in the universe. If Martin really mastered a shape-shifting Vajra universe, and every time he summons a mature shape-shifting Vajra with complete emotion and character, he would never be able to hide the infinity. But unfortunately, it now appears that Martin is really his own shape-shifting King Kong, and there is no shape-shifting King Kong universe. Bad news. Don't worry too much. Although level Godfather is powerful, the distance from level single universe is 100 times greater than the distance from immortal to level Godfather. Even if he is Martin, it is impossible to break that barrier in a short time. Become a universe god alongside me. He will be the destiny of this universe for millions of years. Anyone who opposes him will not end well. The entire universe will help him. This destiny will spread to his men to some extent. On the body. In the next few million years, how will we watch him be rampant? A mere human origin, but stepping on the corpse of a god and climbing up. Then. Find a way to cut off the destiny, at least shorten the time of the destiny, from a few million years to hundreds of thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years. Death. I want to hear your plan. Eternal finally spoke. Death's entire figure was shrouded in a shadow, at the moment, slowly raising his head, revealing the skull under the hood. If I tell you in advance, it won't be called a plan. How can it be so easy to strip Martin from the destiny? Martin is more cunning than many of us. Death chuckled in a low voice, and the creepy laughter made some phantoms sway slightly and moved a little away. No god wants to get close to death, and no one wants to embrace death, because if you do this, it means you are dead. Roar. Numerous figures disappeared one after another, turning into incomprehensible rules, spreading out, and disappearing in place. As if nothing happened. Optimus Prime returned to Cybertron, allowing Ultron to complete the B-level task of hunting Ego, and immediately received Martin's call. Optimus Prime, are you interested in becoming the god of the World Tree? Martin lay down on the chair and asked lightly. The god of the World Tree. Optimus Prime showed a trace of solemnity. As one of Cybertron's senior officials, he generally knows that some secret research, the study of the entire world tree system, is the key scientific research project of the Global Academy of Sciences. It seems that there has been a lot of progress now. Kratos, who has successfully transplanted dozens of divine bloodlines of the Protoss, is the most successful human experiment product, but after all, he is just a mixture, and you are different. You who have a giant sword naturally have a deep touch. If you are qualified to touch the world tree rule, if possible, you will be a brand new and powerful god born from the world tree. Martin said. This is his long-held idea, to decipher the mystery of the divine power, decipher the genetic code of the major Protoss, if possible, transplant their divine power gene into the CNA gene of the shapeshifting King Kong, and then let some new students shapeshifting King Kong. The same can use all kinds of supernatural powers. However, this process requires caution. Once the gene bank is contaminated with inferior and uncontrollable genes, the consequences will be extremely dire. At the moment, Martin looked at Optimus Prime, and there was a little more imperceptible depth in his eyes. This is a risky attempt, but no matter what the evaluation is, there is a certain possibility. Once it succeeds, the power of the world tree will have no secrets in front of Martin. Not only that, the entire veil of the entire 3 generations of gods will be covered. Ripped apart. I want to give it a try. Optimus Prime thought for a long time and slowly spoke. He can skillfully use the great sword of divine power, which has already explained a lot of problems. You won't let me down. The whole universe will see that a you who makes them feel incredible is rising. With the help of the power of destiny. Martin, trying to make a god. Soon, many senior executives knew that Optimus Prime had to take the risk to take charge of the supernatural power rule of the world tree. I have to say that this is the most suitable method for Optimus Prime to become stronger. But Megatron's mood was extremely bad. Seeing his old opponent is getting stronger at an alarming rate, Megatron's heart is very unwilling. He looked into the distance with a gloomy face. At the moment he simply walked on this huge amounts of steel planet with a cold face. Isn't this Megatron? Everyone in Guardians of Galaxy at the moment also walked out of the dawning spacecraft, confined to see Megatron's first glance, and simply hugged his shoulders with his hands and snorted. Go away, confine you, I have no time to care about you. Megatron looked indifferent and passed by everyone from the Guardians of Galaxy. What's wrong with this guy? Rocket Raccoon looked confused. I don't remember we offended him. Sometimes, a heart that is unwilling to be mediocre is more terrifying than originally for the holidays. Drax looked deep. Rocket Raccoon yelled, Hey, do you know it again? Yes, I always knew. The gang of sand sculptures looked like they were about to quarrel again. Confinement frowned and stared at Megatron's back. He faintly felt that this guy seemed to have made some crucial decision. Megatron went directly to the Global Academy of Sciences. Sasser, I have an important task for you, Megatron said coldly. Shockwave immediately stopped his work and said coldly, Definitely, I am happy to help you. I know the shards of infinite gems are in your hands, now. Give me these shards of gems. Megatron's eyes burned with flame-like ambition. Infinite gems, this is the best thing for him right now. Many scientists from the entire Academy of Sciences stopped their actions at the moment and looked at Megatron with amazement. Although infinite gems are broken, the remaining power in them still refers directly to the rules of the universe. If you force them to use, the risk is very high. There is nothing more dangerous than a broken and disordered rule. It was Jack, the scientist among the Autobots. Then find a way to change them from disorder to order. Megatron's eyes flashed with dazzling red light, and a finger slammed Jack's chest hard. There is a way. Sasser said indifferently, if you want to put together the power of infinite gems again, you need a living body that can hold them. If you are not afraid of death, I will directly use your body as a warming infinite gems. Hotbed, repair the shards of gems little by little. Many fragments were implanted into Megatron's body, and the Megatron body was used as a medium to connect the power of the fragments. This is a very risky move, but it is a real and effective move. Jackie's face was blue and angrily said, Crazy, Sangbo, you are crazy, you will kill him. Shockwave exudes an icy breath, and you will never be able to talk about emotions with a shape-shifting King Kong who thinks in the mind of a machine. He will only think about the most beneficial and logical plan. Very well, Sasser, just do that, as expected to be my most powerful assistant. Megatron said with a terrible laugh and praised him. Jack looked ugly, and finally gritted his teeth, contacted the ambulance and Dr. Banner, and began to transplant all the fragments of infinite gems for Megatron. This unprecedented experiment is dominated by me. Shockwave directly pulled out an experimental platform, which was simply tailored for Megatron, as if he had already estimated it in his countless calculations and simulations. Megatron will try this. 4 top scientists, all serious, began to transplant infinite gems fragments for Megatron. This is the craziest experiment I have ever done in my life. Dr. Banner muttered in a low voice, carefully picked up a piece of mind gem, and then solemnly looked at the shockwave on the side. Without any hesitation, Sasser directly controlled the machine and cut a gap in the surface of Megatron's body. Infinite gems shards were implanted, and as soon as they touched Megatron, there was a huge roar, and the yellow psychic power suddenly swept away, sending some weak guys flying. Mind gem fragments, with your strong will enough to suppress, it is the least risky option. The ambulance frowned. I feel a powerful force. Go on. Keep planting more fragments. Megatron lay on the test bench, hissing in a low voice. Soon, bursts of crazy painful roars came out frequently from the Global Academy of Sciences, and at the same time, accompanied by extremely terrifying energy waves, everything was suppressed. The energy detection device used for monitoring the data soars all the way. Every time there is a wave of horrible light surges, the data on the detection device explodes, and Megatron's strength is superimposed at an astonishing speed. Level 4 peak, level sub-godfather peak. The energy index of horror was rising in a frightening way, and it quickly attracted the attention of many residents. That guy Megatron is crazy. The 5-headed giant patrolled vigilantly in the distance of the Academy of Sciences, feeling the power of Megatron's crazy skyrocketing, staring at each other and sighing. What a lunatic, he actually took this step. Boom. In the end, the last orange soul power burst out, and then suddenly shrank back, and everything settled. Dr. Banner got out of a pile of experimental equipment with a sullen head and looked anxiously at the experimental platform. Did you succeed? This terrifying energy fluctuates extremely frequently, almost destroying the entire laboratory. Such Megatron. Is it a success? Shockwave's tall figure slowly stood up, and after scanning for a while, he said in a deep voice, "Success, we did it." Wow. 6 kinds of slightly dim rays of light flashed abruptly, exuding a dazzling luster, and mysterious coercion was produced, as if facing a mini-universe directly. On Megatron's dark silver body, he slowly got up. Everywhere on his body, fragments of different file sizes flickered, like beautiful decorations evenly spread on his body, but he personally carried out this experiment. The 4 great scientists know that every ray of light symbolizes power. This terrible sense of depression covered the entire Cybertronian star and was noticed by many powerful beings in the world tree. Very good, I feel a powerful force. Megatron let out a terrifying laughter, which is really wonderful. This is the taste of power. Sasser, report the results. Megatron looked at his right-hand man domineeringly. You are now at the top of the level Godfather. In fact, if the 6 infinite gems were not broken too badly, and the rules and power in them were lost by 99%, you would never stop at the level Godfather. Shockwave said indifferently. Megatron gave a bloodthirsty smile. I will not stop at level Godfather now. I have already felt the barrier in front of me. If I break it, I can step into the level single universe. This is just time for me. Problem. Martin was grinding coffee with his own hands, and suddenly, his movements paused slightly, revealing a trace of dumbness. The guy Megatron is really crazy, but it's a success. Originally, he thought that if Megatron couldn't survive it, he would use the fire source to support it. Even if he used endless vitality and spiritual power to survive, at least Megatron would be able to save his life. Megatron actually made it by himself. Is it level Godfather? And it's the level Godfather limit, one step away from the level single universe. It's pretty good, and Optimus Prime's advantage is equal to being equalized in an instant. Martin made the ground coffee, impeccable in every movement, smelling the faint aroma, smiling at the corner of his mouth. There is nothing wrong with this kind of competition. Now Cybertron has another powerful presence of level Godfather. A heavy footstep sounded, and Megatron had already arrived in front of Martin. Martin looked up, glanced at the condition of Megatron's body casually, and said with appreciation, "Yes, the large number of fragments of infinite gems are actually completely carried by U-25. On the surface of the dark silver body, there are 6 more powerful and brilliant colors. At the moment is exuding powerful power with the passage of time. Whenever Megatron uses the infinite gems fragments, the fragments transplanted on his body will immediately light up, using Megatron's body as a medium to connect in series with each other. However, the overall light is extremely dim, which should be due to the severe fragmentation of infinite gems, which is far worse than when it was complete. Only Megatron has the ultimate strength of level Godfather. How are you feeling now? Are there any discomforts? Martin took the coffee and circled Megatron. It feels great. The power of infinite gems has become a part of my body. This power is fascinating. Megatron squeezed his fist, his eyes flashed red, a huge wave of fluctuations grew from his body, and his practice spread. The limit of level Godfather is only one step away from the noble single universe God. Martin squinted at Megatron. On the smiling face, there was a ray of thought in the depths of his eyes. He thought more far-reaching. After killing Thanos and defeating Sithorn, he seized the destiny of this universe by strong means and added destiny to him. For a long time in the future, he will be very smooth look now come, not only himself, but even Megatron, at the moment is under the destiny of the destiny. Transplanting infinite gems is such a dangerous thing, it succeeded in one shot, it was incredible. Transplanting the broken infinite gems, is this also part of the whole destiny? Martin thoughtfully. He roughly understands why those cosmic gods are so concerned about the people to whom the destiny is returned, and the entire universe must give way to the people to whom the destiny is returned. Although, he didn't really have a cold with such ghosts as destiny. Where is Optimus Prime? Megatron clenched his fists and whispered. That guy went to the root of the World Tree and is trying to master the supernatural power rule of the World Tree. Maybe when he comes back, he will surpass you again. Hey, impossible, I will only be faster and stronger than him. Megatron showed a ferocious smile, eager to try, he couldn't wait to compete with this old opponent. Soon, Megatron left, and with every step he took, there were extremely powerful fluctuations in his body, and a faint sense of suffocation amidst the radiant glory. Martin drank the coffee in his hand, his eyes deep, and he thought quietly. Whether the World Tree or infinite gems it is only an external force after all, and it is only an external force limited to a single universe. If you can't find a way to break the boundaries of the single universe and find a way to truly connect the entire multi-universe, this will become stronger. The way, after all, has a big disadvantage. The simplest thing is that if this universe is destroyed one day, the World Tree divine power will be directly abolished, and infinite gems will become rubbish. Optimus Prime and Megatron will be knocked down directly. However, it is better to take one step at a time. It is better to have strength than no strength. No matter who the enemy is, no matter what happens in the future, as long as Martin is there, no one can block my progress. Even if it is a god. Martin put the cup down, walked slowly to the wall and waved at will. In an instant, the wall opened suddenly, revealing a hidden pavilion behind it. The blue long sword, like a crystal, was hanging quietly. Martin grabbed the hilt of the sword and slowly picked it up. Even without swinging it, the horrible cold light flashing across the blade of the sword faintly cuts off time and space. The sharpness of cutting everything is cut along with the most basic cosmic rules. Opened. Star Sword. Martin squinted his eyes and looked at this magical sword, the artifact with the highest attack power of the previous Cybertron civilization. Since he defeated Sithorn, he got this magical weapon by virtue of the multi-level universe prestige lottery. Never used it. Even in the Battle of the 10 Realms, he didn't use it. Just such rubbish as Malkys and Nidhogg, he didn't deserve to use the Star Sword. At the very least, I have to hack and kill a level single universe guy to slash the weapon that is destined to make the gods tremble. The enemy of level Godfather is not worthy. I have the Supreme God Armor for defense, the Star Sword for attacking, and I have the Source of Fire to reserve, and many boundaries do not exist for me. Level single universe. Soon. Now, with a large number of artifacts, he can resolutely fight level single universe and defeat it. More importantly, Martin himself has been sublimated in the endless moment of the fire source, and has stood in the level Godfather. On the limit. There is only one step away from breaking the barrier like that day and becoming a noble single universe god. No, it's half a step away. Soon, he will be able to truly rely on his life essence to become the god of the universe. Earth. The people on Earth suffered only a trivial aftermath from the Battle of the 10 Realms, and were only attacked by Malky's army of dark elves. Despite the deaths of tens of millions of people, dozens of cities were damaged to varying degrees. At least, luckily survived. This is much better than the situation in the comics. In the comics, the entire Earth fell, and the Dark Elves, Fire Demon and other worlds won a complete victory. They defeated the superhero of all countries on the Earth, directly divided the Earth, and sent troops to occupy different continents. For example, the Far East was occupied by Queen Sind. The Fire Demon captured and occupied. Even Antarctica has been divided up. That is to say, Martin was sitting in town this time, and he made a strong move to kill the strong enemy, and also saved the Earth from the disaster of extinction, but was raided by a wave of dark elves. And the invasion of powerful armies from other worlds of the World Tree has also thoroughly stimulated the major forces on the Earth. This is a different war from the past. They are almost finished. Some crazy plans were launched, and the major forces began to invest regardless of cost, just to obtain a more powerful warforce. Mr. Reginald, Your Excellency the President asked me to ask you where the X-Plan is. One person walked into the dim basement and said solemnly. As we all know, the US military has only two main directions for biological experiments. One is the Super Soldier program headed by General Ross, researching Hulk serum and other things to gain strength, and the second is the X-Weapon program headed by Stryker. When Hulk was taken away by Martin, General Rose's plan was frustrated. Stryker was killed by Martin, and the X-Weapon project was frustrated. This is very embarrassing. The projects that invested huge sums of money in the United States will eventually be abandoned by one person. However, they dare not retaliate, and there is no ability to retaliate. History has proved that every confrontation between them and this man will end in a disastrous situation, especially when this man has grown to a level godfather who can kill him head-on. After ending the Battle of the Ten Realms with one hand, this sense of suffocation was unprecedented. It's desperate. How can people fight against God? Did Rose send you? Reginald stopped the research in his hands and turned around. The handsome but gloomy look fell on the incoming person, and he sneered. Sir, they are all serving for the country, and it doesn't matter who the subordinates are sent. The soldier said with a stern face. Reginald stared at him for a while, then laughed softly. You are right, but when you go back and tell Rose that he is a loser, don't think about extending his paw to me. He and Stryker, both losers, can only waylay in my shadow in this life. Well, you need to tell him yourself, sir. I only care about the progress of the experiment. The soldier jumped his eyes and said. Reginald snorted coldly and turned on a light, which suddenly illuminated the dark place. This terrifying scene appeared, and the shocked soldier couldn't help retreating, with a look of horror on his face. This is my most powerful experiment. Why are you afraid? Shouldn't you feel honored? Reginald let out a cold laugh. In front of the two of them, there were a list of half-human height transparent jars. Each jar was filled with deformed species, multiple eyes, palms on the heads, etc., which were extremely horrible and chaotic. The most eye-catching thing is precisely the blood-red giantess, with the edges and corners of steel and the elasticity of flesh and blood, with a weird integration. What made this soldier feel terrified was the appearance of the giantess. Clearly made him feel familiar. Betty Rose, the long-missing daughter of General Rose. Reginald, you are crazy. The soldier drew his gun decisively and shot directly at Reginald, but the next moment, a robot that was more than 2 meters tall and seemed to be an ornament suddenly moved, rushing to Reginald at lightning speed and blocked it. All the bullets. Let alone 10 times the speed of sound, it looks like. Quicksilver. On my turf, still want to kill me? Who gives you the confidence? Is Rose that idiot? Reginald sneered and looked at the soldier who was directly caught by Sentinel. You are treason. Openly use a general's relatives to conduct human experiments, you are crazy. The soldier roared, and then there was a crisp noise around his neck, and he was strangled to death by Sentinel. Bored. Mortals are so fragile, no wonder those gods disdain human beings, never take it seriously, never despise, always ignore. Reginald remembered some information about the man he had seen in the military, from the killing abomination on Broadway, to the destruction of the Atlantic Fleet, to the slaughter of Wakanda, and even going out of the Earth into the universe. Those satellite images that flashed by at a fast speed, finally freeze, only Martin's expressionless face, as if everything he did was an incredibly random act. Soon, I will also become a god. Reginald ordered Sentinel to step back and looked at the female giant in front of him feverishly. He guessed right. The bastard Rose really coveted Hulk's power, and has been debugging his own genes, trying to move closer to Hulk. Therefore, as the head of the new Super Soldier project and the X-Weapons project, Reginald decisively sent Sentinel to tie Rose's daughter Betty, and after several tests, he was injected with Hulk serum. Betty became a red giant, the same terrifying power, the same anger, no different from Hulk. In order to train you, I also injected you with a lot of X-gene, teleportation, super self-healing, beta adamantium alloy, hot sight. Betty, you are my favorite work and the top work of 2 biological experiments. Reginald had a crazy smile on his face, and he almost saw the whole world under his feet. Congratulations on your success, Reginald. According to our agreement, I will take a copy of your information. Mrs. Viper walked gracefully from the shadows, and a faintly poisonous glow flashed on her green lips. Hydra has never been safe. Even if it was cleaned up by the insidious dog thief Fury, it still won't stop. Reginald looked at Madame Viper coldly, and said in silence, "The cooperation between me and Hydra, so far, there is nothing you can give me." As soon as the voice fell, a large number of the latest models of Sentinel immediately crowded in front of Reginald, and the female celebrity giant in that huge jar was also faintly awakened at the moment. "These Sentinel super speeds are still because I gave you the Quicksilver genes, Reginald. You can have your current status. From a little scientist to a distinguished figure in the United States, our Hydra has made great efforts and now directly kick us away with one kick. Isn't it appropriate?" Mrs. Viper's face turned cold. "Die, you poisonous snake." Reginald grinned, and many Sentry began to use different X ability, flame, ice, rays, and they were about to bombard Madame Viper on the spot. "Enough, Reginald, this farce ends here, good promise." Roar. A cold wind flashed, and large swaths of gray fragments gathered, and a figure slowly condensed into shape. When the hood was taken off, the red skull was exposed. "It's you? Are you back?" Reginald's face changed. "I returned to Earth to take revenge and build a great world belonging to Hydra." "Reginald, Hydra's power to lean for you is my order. We should not become enemies." The red skull returned to Earth from space, at the moment, slowly took off his hood and spoke lightly. Reginald was silent for a long time before letting out a long sigh. "If this is the case, I will join. I am very interested in your plan." Reginald, the person in charge of hunting Hulk, is the small boss in the early stage in the big event under all things. "Oh. The old red skull has returned to Earth. It's another wonderful event. I don't know how many people will die on Earth." Martin received the news from the soundwave and suddenly sighed. "The revenge of Red Skull. In the comics, Red Skull is killed, but I don't know how many superheroes and how many cities have been slaughtered." Martin is happy to watch the Red Skull horror boss doing things on the Earth in a way of watching the excitement. He is just watching the show anyway. As long as the Red Skull is not stupid, he will not actively provoke Martin's forces. He escaped from the Soul Gem and knows how terrifying Martin's strength is. Earth. Xavier's school for gifted youngsters, as always, is peaceful. In other words, since Stryker, the vanguard to deal with Mutant, was killed by Martin, Xavier's school has not had any disaster-level incidents for a long time, and the students in the school can have a good growth environment. Until, a cloud-like figure floating quietly came here. Xavier's school for gifted youngsters? Ridiculous. Red Skull looked up indifferently, sneered, and sneaked into it like Ghost. Well? Professor X was reading a book, but suddenly he frowned, and the power of his mind quickly spread. He scanned the entire Xavier School for gifted youngsters, but found no clues. Illusion. Professor X is a little serious. He has developed his spiritual ability to the limit of level 4. It stands to reason that there will be no such low-level feeling errors, unless there is something that can hide him from sneaking into the school. Who would it be? Professor X frowned and asked Roar to call Chin and Kurt. Roar. Suddenly, black fragments appeared in the study, forming a strange figure in the next moment. Unexpectedly, when I was fighting in this world, there would be such a strong you alive. I knew that, I would have you under my command back then. Red Skull slowly raised his head and looked at Professor X greedily. The other spiritual ability really made him greedy. If he had such ability instead of injecting some shit super soldier serum, he would have unified the world long ago. Professor X suddenly closed the book and looked at the guy in front of him in amazement. The horrible memories of his childhood came to his mind. This is the face of the devil that frequently appeared during the Second World War and caused hundreds of millions of deaths to be the chief culprit. You should have been killed by Steve a long time ago. Why are you still alive? Professor X was frightened and immediately mobilized the powerful psychic power, and suddenly extended to the Red Skull. The Red Skull smiled contemptuously, and raised his hand at random, as if an invisible barrier was created. Professor X was shocked to find that his mental ability could not enter the brain of the guy in front of him. Red Skull died more than 70 years ago. It is impossible to live to this day. Who are you? The clone developed by Hydra. Professor X looked serious and faintly felt that there was a big trouble, and at the same time he asked Roar to call his disciples, especially Wolverine Logan, who planned to call Roar to be immortal. It's useless. When I came here, everything about you was mine. The Red Skull smiled cruelly, and with the residual power obtained from Soul Gem, it was enough to shield Professor X's mental ability. At the moment, he walked towards Professor X step by step, and finally stood in front of the old guy, a little sorrowful. During World War II, he had reached middle age, but Professor X was just a child. But now, he is still the same, but Professor X has become an old man with broken legs. Become my strongest weapon to rule the world. Charles, your brain is stronger than the world's nuclear weapons arsenal. The Red Skull grinned cruelly, pressed his hands on the top of Professor X's head, and then slowly applied force in the angrily gaze of Professor X. You won't succeed. You will fail like 70 years ago, and there will never be a chance to turn over again, Professor X growled in his last voice. The red skeleton grinned, slightly hard. Click it. Professor X's skull was torn off by the red skull. He cautiously, as if touching the most precious treasure in the world, dug out the active brain in his head, with his bare hands. The power of the soul surged, giving the red skull a lot of power that it had never had before. He looked madly at this beautiful brain and laughed wildly. Boom. The wall was smashed open, and a figure that was as swift as a wolf had roared and rushed forward. Adamantium claws slammed down at the red skull. But Red Skull seemed to have perceived it a long time ago, and fluttered back and then avoided. You are late, the most powerful weapon on the planet, now it belongs to me. Red Skull laughed wildly. Professor Jean, Aurora, and Kurt also arrived one after another, looking at Professor X, who was paralyzed in a wheelchair with his head opened, his eyes were cracked. Damn you. Many mutants were full of grief and anger, and one after another killed the Red Skull. But Red Skull just glanced at them contemptuously, holding this precious brain, and flying away through the broken window. Who the hell is that guy? The professor's brain has been poached away. As long as the brain can be retrieved, the professor will not die. For the professor, the body is just a shell that carries the spirit and soul. Everyone looked at the Red Skull's fast-going figure. Storm Oro flew out directly, flashing thunder in the sky, and wanted to kill Red Skull recklessly. Rumble. The weather suddenly changed strangely, and part of the thunder was unexpectedly out of control and began to blast towards Aurora. Aurora's face changed. I saw a peculiar robot, at the moment also flew up, actually possessing the same ability that controls the weather as Aurora. Sentinel. Logan jumped up suddenly, straddling a distance of tens of meters in an instant, and was about to poke his paw into the robot's chest, tearing it to pieces. Whoosh. In an instant, Sentinel had already ran 100 meters away, at an alarming speed. Kurt shot a radium ray and blasted the robot. The next moment, the robot's eyes also glowed red, and then a radium ray was also shot out in a sudden. Careful. Chin threw Shri Kurt down, which saved Shri Kurt's life. What kind of robot is this and why is it so terrible? A mere robot with so many kinds of super abilities. In the distance, something even more distracting has happened. Several sentinels have arrived at Xavier's school for gifted youngsters and have begun to attack this important mutant stronghold frantically. In an instant, wars raged, and a disaster that spread to the whole world began in this quiet campus. The Red Skull came back and launched revenge on the Earth, venting the great humiliation for more than 70 years. The whole Earth was shocked, especially those who had experienced World War II, and once again recalled the fear of being dominated by this terrifying leader. Asshole, he was killed by Tesseract. Why did he come back? Red Skull. This lunatic, but it doesn't matter. The times are different. The Earth today is essentially different from the Earth 70 years ago. Fury sat on the helicarrier, and when he heard the news, he was very calm. Red Skull is back for revenge? Oh, really amazing news. Fury said that he didn't panic at all, he had Captain Marvel there and punched the Red Skull to death more than enough. Times have changed. In this era when level sub-godfather and level godfather appear one after another, the strength of Red Skull is really nothing. The only thing that needs to be cared about is. He poached Charles's brain. What does he want to do? Fury is extremely serious, and there is that kind of weird robot, clearly the sentinel of the military, actually fell into the hands of Red Skull. Damn Reginald, this bastard is from Hydra. Rumble. Horrible explosions suddenly erupted in big cities around the world, and Red Skull himself appeared in New York City. At the moment, he has taken off his black robe directly. What is frightening is that his Red Skull has been lifted. Inside is a brain that keeps roar-sucking. The world will belong to Hydra. As soon as the Red Skull's heart moved, a huge spiritual ability exploded in an instant. In an instant, this sentence rang in countless people's minds, and everyone's faces showed a panic from the heart. This is a declaration of war, either obey or die. Moreover, many superhero and supercriminals were controlled by Red Skull at this moment and joined his camp. Only a handful of guys who are defensive of mental ability can survive. Want to rule the world? Didn't you ask me if Kim? At the moment, the New York Underground boss Jin Bin, with a terrifying face and a muscular body, suddenly stood up from the sofa, as if it were a meat mountain. Avengers and X-Men's remaining mutant, at the moment, also quickly came to New York, without much words, and directly went to war with Red Skull. Mind shielding device is indeed a good thing, but it's a pity that it's too late. The power I have is already too powerful. The Red Skull laughed wildly at the heroes who surrounded him. Roar. With a roar, the female red giant suddenly descended, and at the same time a large number of sentinel flew up, surrounded by the Red Skull. Everything seemed to be doomsday. Go and die. Everyone who disobeys me will die. The Red Skull grinned and waved his hand. The war broke out. Hey, get out, you are controlled by the Red Skull. Tony was shot by Hawkeye with an arrow, and he yelled at him. An energy cannon knocked Hawkeye into the air. Soon, more controlled heroes and villains rushed over, constantly interfering with Tony and others. Thunder burst into Ororo's eyes. In a bang, countless thunders descended, storms breeded, and a large number of people in front of him were lifted off. Soon, a radium ray had hit her, and she hit her shoulders on the spot. Breakdown. Damn. What the hell are these robots? Even the various models of Ultron are not as scary as these ghosts. Ororo endured the severe pain and cursed. A sentinel rushed over, one arm turned into a metal knife, and he was about to chop off Ororo's head. Boom. The next moment, the robot was blasted out by a force. This is Sentinel, my child. It is a killing machine that humans have developed for decades to exterminate us. Obviously, they have succeeded. Magneto came across the sea, swinging his arms, and countless magnetic fields were controlled by him. He powerfully cleared the entire battlefield out of a large area and faced the Red Skull. Eric, I really didn't expect that a kid that Xiao idiot liked at the beginning. Did not expect to grow to this point. How about it? Are you interested in joining me? I have never discriminated against mutant. Wait until I rule the earth. No, there will be another distinction between races, only the distinction between high and low contributions. The Red Skull let out a deep laugh, and immediately stretched out an olive branch toward Magneto. No one will believe you who caused the Second World War. My tragedy also started from the Second World War. Die, Red Skull. I prefer to build a mutant country by myself. Magneto sneered again and again. Red Skull shook his head and sighed. It's sad, Eric, there is no way, I can only ask you to die. Boom boom boom. Magneto's face sank, and his magnetism control ability burst out suddenly, and he was about to destroy these sentinels. What made his brow furrowed was that these sentinels were actually made of degaussing materials, which could greatly shield his magnetism control. A large number of heroes and villains have joined this battlefield. Numerous Supermans have used the entire New York City as the battlefield. In this city shortly after the destruction of Chittori, unscrupulous and fierce battles have been launched again. Roar roar. JARVIS, dispatch my latest research results. Tony simply dispatched his trump card, and 2 special adamantium alloy battle armors arrived on the battlefield, all controlled by JARVIS. Adamantium alloy? Humph. Magneto glanced at it and snorted coldly. This was originally used to deal with you. I don't believe you can squeeze the hardest metal in the universe. It's a pity that you can only use the Red Skull to practice your hand. Since the middle of the night on the day of the Hulk War hatred, he was wearing anti-Magneto armor, but was hanged by Magneto and almost killed on the spot. After learning from it, he finally decided to take the other extreme route. Your magnetic control ability can blow up war armor, then I simply use the terrifying adamantium alloy to create a battle armor that you can't beat. It seems that it has been quite effective now, and Magneto, who has always despised him, has rarely called Roar's 2 suits as rubbish. A brand new war broke out, the battle became more intense, and high-rise buildings were destroyed. The 2 adamantium alloy battle armors also displayed extremely powerful combat power, rampaging, unstoppable, and even Sentinel used flame and ice ability to damage the armor. Tony, you don't know anything about fear. Red Skull looked at the 2 battle armors rushing toward him with murderous aura, and suddenly smiled, and his heart moved. In an instant, the core programs of these 2 battle armors were rewritten by Red Skull. Tony was frightened, and in an instant, his 2 armors no longer belonged to him and became Red Skull's weapons. Go away, you undercover. Magneto was furious, and a magnetic explosion blasted Tony aside. His eyes were bloodshot, and he looked crazy, especially seeing the old friend's brain falling into the Red Skull's head, which severely stimulated his nerves. Charles, you and I have been fighting for a lifetime, but you ended up in this way. Magneto spoke in a low voice. Looking at the two adamantium alloy battle armors that were attacking quickly, took a deep breath, and let out a low roar. The magnetic control ability of that body broke out in an unprecedented state of horror, and it landed directly on the two battle armors. With a roar like a beast, Magneto's muscles tightened, exploding its variant ability to the extreme, and in a bang, it squeezed the two adamantium alloy battle armors. Two violent fireworks were produced. Great, Eric. The Red Skull paused and looked at Magneto in amazement. The ability to explode the adamantium alloy armor is enough to prove how powerful Magneto is. JARVIS, after defeating Red Skull, I still think the anti-Magneto armor is more promising. We develop a new armor. Tony was also a little confused, not knowing whether it was joy or helplessness. The battle became more and more fierce. Hydra, led by the Red Skull, created terrible disasters all over the world, constantly involving the forces of all major forces, but in the United States, it pushed the Avengers and mutants step by step to an end. The Red Skull is too powerful. After spending 70 years in Soul Gem, his wisdom has risen to a new level. The eyes of many heroes are full of indifference. As time went on, more Sentinel appeared all over the Earth, and in accordance with the well-inputted procedures, they began to hunt down all kinds of Superman not limited to mutant, even genetic mutants and practitioners. You can't kill it by mistake. Be grateful. This is a cleansing and washing of inferior races, leaving only the absolute elite to enjoy this beautiful world. This is exactly what I am doing. The voice of the Red Skull spread all over the world through spiritual power. The entire Earth was caught in huge amounts of turbulence, so much so that even the base of the Earth was affected. Sonic listened to Red Skull's words indifferently, and then silently recorded these words, which was his habit. Excavating troops. How long will it take to dig into the center of the Earth? The sound waves sent a message to Hercules. Well, the amount of work is much larger than I estimated, and it will take several months. Hercules quickly replied. The sound wave fell silent. Digging to the center of the Earth. This is the highest goal of the troops. They stayed behind on the Earth, although even the sound waves don't know why Martin did this, but it is not important, just follow the order. The whole Earth is getting more and more chaotic. I only hope that this will not interfere with their course of action. Cybertron. A scene of crazy construction, the slight twists and turns on the Earth. It is impossible to pass on to this terrifying planet. Here are the most powerful leaders. There are several level godfathers who are sitting, coercing the entire world tree, and the gods must give in. At this time, there are strong fluctuations that are transmitted to the entire world tree. At the moment, the dragon Nidhogg, who was basking in the sun, raised his head suddenly, his eyes a little serious. This power actually directly shook the world tree. Did that guy really do it? There was a deep jealousy in Niederhogg's eyes. Damn, he, who is of noble origin, has not been recognized by the world tree. Why can this robot be able to do it? Why? Is this fair? A blue figure carrying a huge sword across the night sky like a dazzling meteor, accompanied by the sudden arrival of Bifrost, suddenly descended on Cybertron. Powerful divine power surged around the body, and the bright brilliance that burst out, at the moment also burst out, with a powerful wave that rushed into the sky, faintly responding to roar with the entire world tree. At this moment, Qing Tianju seemed to be the center of the entire world, as if he should be the destiny of this world. This is the recognition from the world tree. Damn. How did you do it? Just rely on you. Why can you do it? I gnawed the roots of the world tree for millions of years, and didn't let this damn big tree pay more attention to me. Why can you do it? Nidhogg got up suddenly, his huge amounts of wings flapped, causing a terrible storm. It flew into the sky and rushed straight to Optimus Prime, with a strong unwillingness in its voice. The power of the world tree belongs to him. Optimus Prime lifted his head slightly, just drew out the great sword and flicked it slightly. In an instant, the power that was no less powerful than Nidhogg, at the moment was overwhelmed by a loud noise, killing Nidhogg to death. He pressed his head. The anger in Niederhogg's heart grew stronger. How long has it been since this robot has been able to match it? And it seems that the other party is receiving blessings from the world tree all the time, and it is rapidly becoming stronger all the time. Maybe, it can really break the barriers like that day, and become the single cosmic god in this universe, which is the level that Niederhogger dreams of. Be quiet, Devil Dragon, to me, your level is no longer as far away as it used to be. Optimus Prime calmly carried the giant sword on his back and said lightly. This kind of calmness angered Niederhogg even more, and the dragon roared frantically, and the whole planet heard it. Optimus Prime stepped across the dragon and went to meet Martin first. I'm back? But are you still stuck in level Godfather? I thought you would directly become a level single universe. Martin looked at Optimus Prime in surprise, and raised his eyebrows as he felt the protection of the world tree spreading from his subordinates. It's really unexpected. That level is more difficult than I thought, and it will take some time. Optimus Prime said in a deep voice, but I'm pretty sure that it won't take long for me to break the barrier and become a level single universe. Martin nodded slightly, not paying attention. Your Excellency Creator, it's you. If I feel right, you are almost standing on the level single universe. Optimus Prime's eyes condensed and said in a deep voice. It's a bit close, but I can do it anytime I want. Martin smiled faintly, and a sharp light flashed in his eyes. Level single universe, soon, he will become one of the most noble beings in a universe. As long as he wants to, he can have the power to modify the cosmic law of a universe. Suddenly, Martin raised his head slightly and looked in a certain direction.